Hey guys, welcome to You the Boss podcast, episode 50. I'm your host, Pam, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming procrastination, how to get out of your own way. So, I did a little bit of research for this episode, and I want you to know from the gate that I am one of those people who can procrastinate. So, when I started doing the research on this, I felt so I think the word is affirmed, or I felt so in good company because so many people have, struggled with procrastination in the past, etc. And it's become a topic amongst my friends and I, and just people that I've come across with out in the world. And so I wanted to do a topic on this and just to kind of, set it up and make it something that we understood better and also ways to avoid it. So there's a bit of psychology when it comes to procrastination, and it's rooted in emotional regulation issues. So according to a study published in the Personality and Individual Differences Journal, procrastination is linked to an inability to manage negative emotions like anxiety, frustration, or a fear of failure. People tend to delay tasks to avoid these feelings, which creates a vicious cycle. So, when it comes to procrastination, usually it's just something like almost like self-imposed anxiety, because sometimes that procrastination is literally just folding laundry, and you just the anxiety of doing it, and it's going to exhaust you, and it's just so annoying, and you have to kind of regulate those emotions. One of the other things that I also found was the cost of procrastination, both on your mental and physical health. It causes a lot of stress. It causes a lot of anxiety. Procrastination leads to a higher level of stress and anxiety. And it is reported that people who procrastinate and wait until the last minute, it actually makes it tougher for them to let go of procrastination because of the increased pressure. It also has been said that people who procrastinate, they don't have really good sleep quality, or they have a worse sleep quality than other people. And, you wake up in the middle of the night, and this causes, for you to be more exhausted. It causes for your mental clarity to not be there. And again, it goes after your physical health. So some of the things that, can help increase procrastination, or should I say increase the way to combat procrastination. There's different time blocking things, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And it helps by making things a little bit more manageable for you. There's also a lot of talk around there being a mentality of just starting, and a lot of the main reason that people procrastinate is because they're feeling overwhelmed. 46%, according to the University of Calgary, 46% of procrastinators said that they just have a hard time starting something from the beginning. They just can't do that. And so this kind of makes it harder, for someone to get started because they're already in this procrastination bubble. And it can also go against, it brings you guilt and self-criticism, right? You're already feeling guilty because you haven't started that. So that makes you feel even worse, right? Or maybe it makes you feel inadequate. It just adds this overwhelming feeling because you just can't get it started, because you almost start to avoid it. You're almost like, I've been avoiding that for so long. Sometimes you can even ask yourself, I'm not even sure why I'm avoiding that. It's really not that big of a deal. It really doesn't take that much energy. And one of the common ones that I've heard is, I just have to get started. As soon as I get started, it gets done so fast. And I start to wonder, why wasn't I already doing that? Why didn't I do it? And I think a lot of it again is we just create this cycle in our minds where like we don't address it. We just kind of continue to avoid it and dodge it almost. And then, you know, what happens when you dodge something, it continues to follow you. It continues to be present. And so now you're creating the self criticism and like, I just can never get a hold of that. And I just feel so overwhelmed. And you're just in this continuous cycle. And we kind of forget, you know, how important it is to follow deadlines. Right now we're living in a society where you don't want to be told what to do. You don't want to rush. You don't want to have to be there on time. You don't want to have to think about all the different things you have to do because you want to live a slow life, a soft life. And I don't think the two are related. I don't think that getting things done, whether they're just regular day-to-day tasks or things at work or for your business or for a brand that you're building, I don't think that it needs to be either soft and slow and calm and super anxious and almost like rushing. I don't think that it needs to be that way. And I think it's important to remove that mentality because that is what causes that anxiety and that stress around that procrastination is that we are creating this guilt of like, I have to do this, I have to do this, I have to do this. And then you find yourself again in that avoidance because almost like because you have to do it, because you have to be accountable, you're almost creating this vicious cycle of almost talking yourself out of it. And it's important to break these tasks, like big things into smaller things, make it more manageable so that when you look at the bigger picture, you start to go on a list as opposed to trying to do things all at once. Maybe, you know, you can break down a task instead of it being an hour long thing. You can break it up into 10 or 15 minutes a couple times throughout the day. I was recently having a conversation with a friend where she was saying, like, you know, I really want to declutter. I really want to get rid of different things, but I just don't have the time. I keep putting it off. I keep putting it off. We got into the conversation where I said to her, I was like, well, maybe you're using your entire day off to do it. And so that's making you avoid it and almost makes you resent it because I don't know if you're like us, but we're from a Latina background. So we grow up in the household where Saturdays is the day that you clean. That's the day that everyone's home. So you wake up early Saturday morning and you clean the whole house and you spend the entire day doing that. And then you spend your Saturday doing that. And while that's great, now your house is clean, but you just lost one of your days off. And now Sunday is just for the day for you to sit there, as opposed to trying to clean a little bit throughout the week and getting to Saturday and just being able to relax or just being able to go out and not feel guilty because you didn't procrastinate cleaning. You made the active choice to just do a little bit every day. And again, it is something to work out of because generationally, again, if you're a Latina, you may have grown up with that mindset that you have to clean on Saturdays, for example. But you have to recognize now that you are the boss of your own situation and that it's okay to do things differently. And it's also okay for you to find a better way that works for you in order to continue living your life and eliminating procrastination. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a few steps or techniques. I usually try to do this in every episode. And it's something that has started to help me and I've implemented these things at different points in my life and it's just a constant growing space. But these steps are to help you get started in overcoming your procrastination and helping you achieve things in a better space. So number 1, implement time blocking to structure your day. What is time blocking? So time blocking is you give yourself, 25 minutes to do a consistent task and give yourself 5 minutes in between each 25 minutes of a break. So you want to make sure that you prioritize things. You give the 25 minutes to the things you want to prioritize. You want to get this task done. You want to go through this string of emails. You want to write this article, whatever that bigger task is of 25 minutes. you want to do that, and then reward yourself for those 5 minutes. Maybe it's scrolling on the internet, whether that's Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Maybe that 5 minutes is just stretching. Maybe that 5 minutes is, you know, sending a quick text to a friend to catch up or something like that. But make sure that you time block. It helps increase productivity by helping you stay focused, helping you stay on task. It helps you combat that task paralysis, and that really comes from not knowing where to start. Number 2, break those tasks into smaller, manageable steps. I've said this before on the podcast. How do you eat an elephant? An elephant one day at a time, or one bite at a time. These bigger tasks, they cause a bigger fear because you're afraid of starting. You're afraid of maybe even failing. Maybe there's something that you've been putting off. Maybe it's starting a podcast. Maybe it's launching a brand, or maybe it's applying to different jobs that are going to give you a better work-life balance. And you've been putting it off because you're just afraid or you're intimidated of what's to come of that. And so you want to break those tasks into smaller, manageable steps, right? So you want to maybe break things down into like 5 to 10 minutes. If you're looking to start applying to different jobs, maybe instead of opening 20 windows, you just brush up your resume a little bit, maybe change a couple of words. And maybe, you do that today for 5 to 10 minutes. And then tomorrow you'll look up a couple of jobs, ideally of what it is that you're looking for. Maybe that's like on LinkedIn, and you'll see what the different people that already work there, what their qualities look like on their LinkedIn. Maybe reach out to them between that 5 to 10 minute window and say, hey, I was thinking of applying at XYZ company. I noticed that you work there, or that you used to work there, and I just wanted to ask you for quick advice. The point is not to, overwhelm yourself with too many of these tasks. The point is to break it down in a certain way of guiding you in the direction to accomplish what it is that you want to accomplish. So again, if it is, let's say, for example, you want to apply to different jobs that are going to maybe pay you better or just have a better work-life balance, you want to get out of retail, you want to take, I'm going to make the step of today, I'm going to take 5 to 10 minutes to brush up on my resume. And then tomorrow I'm going to take 5 to 10 minutes and just reach out to a few people on LinkedIn, or look on LinkedIn at these different companies before I go apply to them. And then the next thing you know, you're applying to jobs regularly. And the point of doing these things and making them smaller is that you're able to check things off of your list, and this creates momentum for you. So it helps you combat that procrastination. Number 3, use the 2-minute rule to build momentum. Now, I have to say, this one specifically has been very personal to me because I've looked at different things and I'm like, well, if it only takes me 2 minutes to do it, then I'm just going to get up and do it. So whether it's replying to a quick email, whether it's making a quick phone call or returning a phone call, which I know is like, sounds so silly, but then in this day and age, because everything comes through as a text, it's so easy, almost daunting to say, oh, whatever, I'll put that phone call off for later. So the 2-minute rule is something that you've been putting off. Maybe it's putting something in a specific spot in your house, in your apartment, and you keep putting it off because you're like, I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to. So instead it's sitting at your table or your counter for a month because you don't want to just pick it up and walk it back to wherever it needs to go. When you start to build that momentum of like the 2-minute rule, it helps you, again, tackle those bigger tasks. It helps you feel accomplished when you start to check things off your task, where, you know what, it only takes me 2 minutes to do that. Let me just do that real quick so that it's done. Number 4, create a distraction-free environment. So that means, if you don't already have a designated workspace in your living space, that means making one. It means not putting your phone to charge right next to the computer when you know that you have a ton of work to do. It means putting your phone on that focus mode. We all have smartphones. You're listening to this more than likely on a smartphone. Putting on that favorite podcast of yours, You the Boss podcast, and saying, you know what, between this time and that time, this episode's going to be 15 minutes long. I'm going to put my do not disturb on and listening to my podcast, and I'm going to get this task done. I'm going to do the dishes really quick. I'm going to do a quick meditation in this time. You want to clean off your desk. You want to make sure your desk is completely clean. Maybe your desk has become your dining room table, and maybe you're like, well, my desk is clean. Well, what about the surrounding areas around your desk? Is it clutter free? Is it organized? It has been proven. I think it's a university. I forgot the name of it, but it tells you that when you have a clean, organized space to do your work, it promotes a sense of calm and a sense of focus. So you want to create that distraction-free environment. Number 5, adopt a growth mindset. Embrace imperfection. Not every day is going to be a perfect day. We've talked about this a couple episodes ago, progress over perfection. When you have a fixed mindset, you are just focused on like the fear of failure and making mistakes, and that can actually feed your procrastination. When you embrace a growth mindset, it allows you to, you view challenges as opportunities. It helps you learn. It helps you improve. It makes it easier for you to begin to do your tasks. It helps you reframe how you view these challenges. Instead of focusing on the mistakes, focusing on the failure, you focus on how is this going to help me to learn and to grow. Acknowledge that mistakes are a part of the process and that they are essential for progress. There's a book on mindset by Carol Dweck, and she does research on mindset and how when you embrace challenges, you're less likely to procrastinate because you have less fear of failure. And I think that's just so telling about how procrastination and fear are linked. Number 6, set deadlines, even if they're self-imposed ones. And I started this episode talking about how in society we're just living in almost like you either are living a soft life or you're living a hustle culture, rushed life. And I think too much of either one is not good. But I think in this point, when it comes to procrastination, I think setting deadlines is so important. I think setting the deadline, especially a self-imposed one, is so critical because if you say to yourself, you know what, by 8 o'clock, I'm going to have XYZ done. If you're a stay-at-home working parent, you're going to say, I stopped working at 5 o'clock. That's it. I'm done. I'm clocked out. I'm not going to drag this on. I'm not going to try to work extra overtime. I'm not going to try to do any of that. It helps prevent procrastination. If you put yourself out there, whether that's on social media or with friends, and you create that role of clear deadlines and you create almost a system of accountability, you're able to, yes, maybe feel a little bit of that pressure, but it also reduces the procrastination because you're accountable to someone else. If you tell someone, you know what, I'm going to have this done at XYZ time, and hang to it, hang true to your word, you're more likely to start to battle that procrastination that has kept you stuck for so long. I want to remind you as we wind down a little bit this episode that procrastination is a part of everyone's life. You're not alone in this situation. The thing that sets a normal person that is faced with procrastination, what sets them apart from a boss, apart from someone who is a go-getter, who is successful, is that the person that faces that procrastination doesn't lay down and let it take over them. It doesn't matter that they've had the procrastination. The point is that they've overcome it, that they've pushed past it. As always, thank you for listening. Come back again next week for another episode of You the Boss podcast.